Welcome to the podcast. This is Todd. A little tired today, You guys are going to be able to see everything that I'm doing here. I want to thank Draftsharks for sponsoring this contest. And I'm going to basically give you the opportunity to see my process from start to finish. I'm going to explain a lot of different things. I am in the 11th spot. I'm Team DS Discord. So we'll get the draft board up for this one. We're going to be doing a bunch of different things. I also want to thank my friends over at the FFPC. You can go to myffpc.com, get an account if you want to get in on this great contest. I signed up for my 96th one of these. So that's a lot, and there's a lot of money involved, and I'm hoping to win $100,000. I've got about 65 with partners by the time this is done, and about 35 solo. So you hear a lot of people talk about know the rules. It's very easy if you're doing this FFPC one to be very confused. Couple things. The most important thing is that separates the FFPC. Everyone thinks it's the 1.5 points for the tight end premium, and that is a factor. You see tight ends going a lot earlier. But what is really, really unique is that you only have to start 2 wide receivers and that there's 2 flexes. And that gives you flexibility as you're doing your draft. So I'm going to show you guys a few different things as soon as I take an acid pill here. It's a great auspicious beginning. So I will get to comments. I see you over there, Henry. I just got a bunch of things I'm going to try and do here. And at some point, I'm going to give you guys this view and not have to look at my noggin. All right, so let's look at some of the screens that are open. This is the draft. You can see it starts in 1 minute and 41 seconds. So one thing you're going to notice that I always do before I talk, before I do anything, is I set my queue. And I pick the 11 guys that I want for, did I miss anyone? So I don't know, you're not going to know the order. The other people who are doing this draft with me, if they think they're going to get an advantage by seeing my queue. In general, they're not going to 11, 12. All right, so I got 12 for now, and then we'll see about the pick 2-2. Because I'm going to show you how I've got a strategy for handling the end of drafts, and I'll go through that at some point. But I also want to show you a key point, which is that based on what the draft gives you, you need to alter your strategy. But let's go through the different screens I've got over here. So this is our draft board. That's where that'll be there. So this is the tournament, $125 best ball tournament. 2 teams out of 12 advance from this league. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of playoffs, which is very different than Underdog, which is very popular. But what I love about this is every week for 3 weeks, 3 out of 12 teams advance. It's 25%. So to me, what that said was I could build a more traditional best ball team and not be as hyper fragile, because I don't need to be super fragile to advance each week. I need a good solid team. And then what I do for week 17 is I will do correlating. One of the screens you'll see that I have open here is the week 17 and it's another one of my tiebreakers. So one of my key thoughts in drafting is, you hear me, when I put in my board basically what I'm doing there is I'm putting everyone that I have in a tier, and then you'll see what I do. I don't want to. I want to go through some of these other things. So this is a nice draft. Kelsey went ahead of Cook. Devonta Adams went early. I don't get taking Devonta Adams that early because about 50% of the teams in leagues in this tournament have Devonta Adams over a round later. It's just not my favorite thing to do. I would take him in the first round, but I wouldn't take him in the first 5 or 6 picks. All right, so it was important that we covered the rules and that you understand this isn't, a 1 out of 18 or a 2 out of 18, with the last round being 160 teams like underdog. This is 12 teams in the final. The money sure goes from high to low, but that being said, the goal is to get to week 17 and then have a plan to win when you get to week 17. This is a draft board from something that I just finished. Twitter, always good to have that around. This is my exposure, and it's Fantasy Mojo's great site. And you'll see I have 2 things open from him. This is my ownership in the best ball tourney. All right, let's go over and see who's there. So Tyreek, Chubb, and Aaron Jones are all people I have interest in here.
Now you are on the clock.
And Tyreek went. I was hoping he would make it. So I'm going to take Aaron Jones. I haven't had a lot of Chubb, but I don't mind getting Barkley here. I don't mind getting Najee. I've been taking a lot of Najee lately. So I like starting in this strategy for attacking the late draft. I definitely want 2 running backs here, unless a guy like Tyreek falls. So back to this. You notice I don't have more than 22% of anyone out of 90,
you are up next.
Almost 90 completed teams. I don't have anyone over 22%.
Now you are
Spreading
on the clock.
exposure is a big part of my strategy. And Chubb made it. So, and the reason for that is as I've been mixing and matching doing this strategy, and I haven't taken Nick Chubb yet, and I'm starting to get too low on Nick Chubb. I mean, I only have 5.26% Nick Chubb, so it was time for a Nick Chubb team. Of course, I took him with Aaron Jones, so now I have 2 13th buys, but I'll just be careful with that as I add my other running backs. That's not the end of the world in this contest. All right. So next thing I do is pick everyone at each position that I'd be willing to take with my next 2 picks. Gibson, Harris, Mixon. So this is how I do my tiers. I skip Montgomery, but I have Carson, wide receiver, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Would take Tyler Lockett there, and I would take Goddard there. Tight end, Pitts, Hawkinson, and Andrews. All right. So that gives me 24 names. We're already up to 2-6, so I've got more than enough names to make 2 picks. Now we can move back to my ownership. So you're going to see me going Control F and typing in a name. You want to see how much Jared Cook I have? It's 5.26%. No one wants to see that. And then the other thing is, this is the ADP board. You get this from Fantasy Mojo, and it will give you where guys have gone the last 3. You want to know how good a deal Nick Chubb was? Well, it wasn't. I took him here. He was here. But same tier for me. I mix up. That's how you get exposures like this. You mix up players within a tier. You mix up combinations. You mix up a lot of things. and you lean into the guys that you believe the most in. So Najee has been growing on me. I didn't have a lot early, but I've been, I'm up to 11.58 in Najee. Typically, and I've talked about this before, Dalvin Cook, I have 15%. That's about as high as I want to get on any first-round pick. I've just been getting a ton of number twos. I was low on Kelsey, so I did some Kelseys, and I think I got one tonight or the last night. But anyway, that's that. And then over here, this is the last 3 days of the average ADP in this contest. And you'll see me use that a lot. We talked about week 17. All right, let's head back over to StreamYard. What are your win rate percentages like out of 90 teams? How many do you normally place in the money? Well, on a good year, I've won as many as 20. On a bad year, I've gotten down to 7-8% win percentage. But again, with this contest, what you're trying to do with 100 teams, I'm hoping for at least 15 firsts and 15 seconds, or 17-13, 13-17. I'm looking for about a 30% pass-through rate. And then if you take that by 33%, that means that on average, you would have 9 teams going into the second week of the playoffs, hopefully 2, and then hopefully 1 getting into the final week. So I answered that. All right, so we've got that. No other questions. I'm going to go over to the Discord. Nothing there. Anything on Twitter? Nothing there. All right. So the next thing so you can see that it's moving very fast. We're already on pick 3, 4. The next thing I want to show you is this is a draft that I just did from the 12th spot. So typically, I like to take 2 wide receivers here. And I'm not going to get into the whole strategy of exactly what I like to do at the end of the drafts yet, because there are people watching, I'm sure, who are in this draft. But what I want to talk about is how, and this is something that I talk about a lot, that strategies are grand, but execution are crucial. And basically what you want to do here is all of a sudden Dobbins and Swift, so we go back to the ADP board, round 3. Swift normally goes 3-8, Dobbins 3-5. I got them at 3-12 and 4-1. Well, I'm not a big one for doing hyper-fragile running back builds in this contest, but when the 4 running backs appeared the way that they did, it was a no-brainer for me to take it, and I only had 4 running backs. All right, I'm up. Oh, my gosh. Allen Robinson made it. Well, so much for the strategy that I use in these drafts. The strategy that I often like to do is to take, like I would have taken Mike Evans, who's gone, mixed him with Chris Godwin, added Brady around the 8th round, and to make up for the fact that that I have, the 11th and 12th pick. Typically, someone had, I wish I could tell you who, on Twitter showed that it's only about a 6% win rate over the last number of years with that. But it would have went out the window anyway. Even if Mike Evans was there, I would have taken Allen Robinson.
15 seconds left.
Because Allen Robinson normally goes. Where does Allen Robinson normally go? He normally goes 3-6. I just got him at 3-12. Half a round discount is big at this time of the draft. So I've already discussed one of my strategies for doing a lot of these tournaments. One is keep your ownership in line. I use different tiebreakers. The chance that, somebody like Deebo Samuel in the 8th round, who's another guy that goes right there? DJ Chark. All right. Well, if I had.
You are up next.
I did take a DJ Chark today, finally. But my point is, injury is a big factor. And projections
you are on
are.
the clock.
All right, let's see who made it back. to me. Wow, Kyle Pitts was there too. Boy, would have loved to have gotten him and Robinson, but I'm still glad I went Allen Robinson. All right, so Hawkinson's gone. I've kind of slipped on my Mark Andrews ownership. He's a guy that I'm pretty high on, and I'm down to 6%. So typically I would go 2 wide receivers here, but I think I am going to take Mr. Andrews because that is not enough ownership on someone that I like. Last year I liked Devonta Adams a lot, and I didn't get enough, and it was very, very frustrating to me at the end of the day to have someone that it's one thing when someone you don't like goes off. When it's someone you like and you don't have enough ownership, that's really annoying. All right. So 5 and 6, I wouldn't take Fant there. So now I'm going to restock the queue. First thing I always do, because I don't, the reason I do this is if you only put enough names in to get you to the, you'll see. So here's my tiers. That's it. That's who I've got. 9 guys, right? Well, obviously, I don't have enough in that tier. So now I have to go back through, and I will add Dak at quarterback. We'll add ETN at running back. At wide receiver, Higgins, Julio, Thielen, Chase, Deontay, Ayuk, Claypool with the injury today, probably not. Beckham. All right, so that's 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I've only got 15 names, and I'm 16 picks away. So that could leave you with a minute clock scrambling. So it's better to figure that out now. So the first thing I do is I go through and I click everyone again to make sure, because sometimes you miss somebody and you think you got them. Deontay, Ayuk, Beckham. I heard that Claypool's injury is not that bad, so I'm going to add him back. Running back. Jacobs, ETN. Really don't want anyone else there. Quarterback, Kyler, Jackson, and Dak. All right. So I got 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, good. So I got enough to at least get to my first pick. And then we'll have to come back and look at other players. But sometimes, even this early, the queue fills. I mean, so people will reach. And I might, like Julio at 410. So I might not have to take another, put more people in. But at least I make sure I have enough to get to my first pick. All right. So let's go back to that other draft. So now I went 4 running backs. Well, now I have to really, I don't worry about that anymore. I didn't get great value on Thielen or Ayuk. I took Shenault. I took Goddard. And then I had Shenault. I have no Shark. So I took a Shark. That's late for him in the 9th. Jarvis Landry. And I was thankful to get Trevor Lawrence to go with my Shark and Ayuk stack. And then I keep pounding receivers. Marquise Brown's been falling because of the injury. He's fallen almost 3 rounds. I got Brian Edwards with Derek Carr as my secondary stack. I actually got sniped on friggin' Hunter Renfrow. And then I needed a second tight end, and I didn't think Hooper was that good. But he went with Hurst. I didn't get Baker Mayfield, but now I've got 1, 2, 3 Browns, and I got Kendrick Bourne, and that's what I mean. When I lost out on Hunter Renfrow, I knew that my Trevor Lawrence stack was going to play the Patriots week 17. So I built the strongest lineup I could. And as a tiebreaker for that last spot, I put in a week 17 correlation with Kendrick Bourne. And you can see that the Jaguars play the Patriots. I would have taken I got sniped here too. Jacoby Myers went 2 picks before me. Definitely would have made him one of my picks here had he made it, because I think he's a good value in the draft. So did I come into this draft thinking I'm going to go 0 running back? I'm going to go heavy running back? No. I did think that I was going to go with 2 running backs because I like having that base of 2 good running backs. And then you'll see me a lot of times the yellow will start here instead of here and stop around here instead of here. But that's okay because this worked out that now I have a nice hyper-fragile 4 running back lineup with a good Jaguars stack. So you come into a draft with an idea of a plan, but you always move off the plan as you go. Kevin, I couldn't believe I was saying those words myself. I was like, really? I just got sniped on Hunter Renfrow. Looking strong so far. Yeah, not a bad team so far. Value's falling. As Dave Hubbard likes to say, the tourists are visiting now toward the end. So I set up my volume to be a little heavier at the end. Going into August, I had about 50. And I've pounded another 50 out in a couple weeks. I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was about 50. So let's check back in on my queue. 7 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 away. So I can start. So then what I can do is I can go to all. It can do a couple different things when you go to all. You can also see if you missed anyone. I don't want Mike Davis. And there Mike Davis went. So now I've got 7 names and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to go. You hear a lot of people talk about the dead zone for running backs. That's another reason why when I draft late at the end of the first round, the A wide receivers are gone. That's why I like to get 2 running backs. So I'm not too tempted to take running backs in the dead zone. So I'm up at 5'11". Review your team. So I got a Bear. I got Baltimore. Well, this is a no-brainer. I've got Mark Andrews. Why take it? But let's look. Hard Knock Life. Does he have a quarterback? He does. He has Josh Allen. Now, he could screw me, but he's really be screwing himself. So I can now choose who I want at wide receiver. I will go with Jamar Chase. I'm taking he was going at the beginning of the 5th. Now he's going at the 6th. I will take the
15
discount.
seconds left.
Even though, again, I'm running into, let me just take him. I'm running into another issue here, but it's not deadly in best ball having your top 2 the same bye week. It's not ideal. But I thought Chase was a good value. Robinson was a good value. I just got to be careful to make sure I have enough players to cover the bye week so that I'm not just completely bleeding points. So let's see who Hard Knock Life takes. Let's see if he cuts off his nose despite my face. If he doesn't, I will be taking Lamar Jackson to go with Mark Andrews. If he does, then I am going to take one of Beckham, Thielen, or Ayuk.
You are up next.
So let's look real quick. Jerry Jeudy, 5'12". God bless.
Now you are on the clock.
All right, Tyler Boyd. Boy, A lot of wide receivers I like that were left for me here, but I don't have enough Lamar Jackson. I do. And what I love about what Mojo has here, I've got 11% overall. I've got 25% in football guys. So I'm overweight there. I'm overweight here, but I'm underweight in this tournament. And it's just the way that I have partners who don't like taking early quarterbacks. But this is a great chance to get closer to even weight on Lamar. No brainer. It's also, you can look here. Well, I won't hold up the draft anymore. So Lamar, he goes at the end of the fifth. So I saved I got a 3-pick discount. And again, when you're mixing your exposure and you're doing a lot of teams, all these savings on ADP on players that you like, you're not just taking savings over ADP just to take savings on ADP. You're doing it, you're banking values on guys that you like or that you don't mind having. And I do like Lamar Jackson. So now I've got a stack. So my team is already coming along pretty good. I've got Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb, Allen Robinson, great value, Mark Andrews. I took a few picks early. Chase around discount. That's going to disappear as soon as he busts one in a preseason game. And Lamar Jackson got a stack. I mean, it's not the best team I've ever had going through 11, 5-6 picks. I don't like it as much as the one that I just showed you, but it's a very solid start. Are you concerned about missing out on elite receivers, top of the draft when going running back? Well, that's a good question. And I'm going to give you a good answer. So Diggs is a kind of a fade for me this year, coming off a career year in an offense that might regress. Number one wide receiver for most of the season is Tyreek Hill, and I'm overweight, 12%. So, and if he had fallen, I would have taken him. But as I said to you, the dead zone for running backs where they really bust is in this 4, 5, 6 range. Myles Gaskin could easily bust. Mike Davis. Hunt shouldn't bust. Edmonds could bust. ETN has James Robinson there. While that's going on, I'm taking, wide receivers for the most part. I did take Lamar Jackson and I took a tight end this time. But the point is that by taking 2 running backs, you want to tell me Diggs is better than Aaron Jones? I don't know. I don't think so. You want to tell me that Calvin Ridley or Hopkins are better than Chubb? I don't know. That's pretty close. At the end of the year, the points could be very close. But I can make those points up because wide receivers are a lot more steady with more upside to me in general as you go along. So it's a good question, but no. The answer is no. I'm getting wide receivers when they're the best guys on the but where I do like this strategy of 2 running backs, I was pretty clear, is at the end of the draft, the 11 or the 12. At the 10, if Hill was there at the 10, if I was the 10, I'd have Tyreek Hill on my team right now. I would take Devonta Adams. I would take Waller if he was there. So I'm only really looking to do this. Look, one of the keys is to take running back. RotoViz has done some great work on this. Wide receivers outscore running backs pretty much throughout the whole draft. So it then becomes incumbent, but we have to start 2 running backs. And in this system, you can also have. You know what I didn't do? I didn't set the queue. Too much gabbing. All right, so quarterback. I probably won't go quarterback, but Russ deserves to be there by then. Damian Harris, Mostert. Let's see where my wide receivers are. Robbie, Juju, Visca, Antonio, Sutton, Brown, Gallup, Devonta Smith. And tight end, Thomas and Goddard. Probably Higbee, too. All right, so I've got 13 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got exactly enough. Did I miss anyone? Yeah, Herbert might go. Rodgers might go before, too. So I should have a pretty good queue here for my next 2 picks. So back to what, back to the point is the key is to take running backs when they hurt you the least, right? So I feel like at the end of the first round, once I missed the 2 elite guys in Adams and Tyreek Hill and the 2 elite tight ends, I feel like that next tier of wide receiver and running back are very close. And now, Antonio Brown went. He's gone. I had so much Antonio Brown early. You can see I have 15.44%, 8.3 in football guys, 24% in early best ball. When he was going 10th to 14th round, I was just grabbing them all the time. And 13.68% in this tournament. But I haven't drafted him much in a month. But he was going 2 rounds earlier. And that's one of the reasons why your exposure flattens, is because ADP changes. Now, Antonio Brown was a screaming deal to me in the 8th, 9th, and 10th round. In the 7th round, yeah, I would like a couple shares, but there's other guys I like just as much, right? He is older. He does have mental. I don't think he's going to go off the deep end again, but you never know. So the point is, you want to build your exposures when you get and that's the whole point of taking discounts. You're welcome. All right. So what we're going to do next is a fun exercise. I'm going to go through the draft that I did earlier, and I am going to go through the roster construction of each of the teams. And I'm going to show you how, when you're doing a lot of teams, just by having good roster construction, you're already 2 teams out of 12 advance. So I'm going to show you how many teams in every draft put themselves at a disadvantage and how it can play into being disciplined at roster construction. All right, so Herbert went, Robbie Anderson went, Logan Thomas, Brandon Cooks, 1, 2, 3, Visca, Sutton, Damian Harris. Let's see. Damian Harris, Sutton, Visca, Mostert.
You are up next. Now you are on the clock.
I wanted Sutton. I wanted Sutton and LaVisca this turn. Check quickly. He's an 11. You got 2 10s. You talk about winning the flex. Wide receivers help you to win the flex. So I'm going to favor wide receivers right now. And I was able to get Sutton. So very happy there. Now we'll look at Hard Knock Life. We see he only has 1 running back, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end. He needs a running back. He might not take one. But I have a decent chance of getting another good wide receiver. If not, I'm okay with taking my third running back. Not used to the name DS Discord.
You are up next.
Ooh, he took Mostert. Will he take Damian Harris? Harris is the best player on the board. All right, let's look at Sutton. So he was going at 7.9. I got him at 7.11. So two pick discount. I'll take it. Devonta Smith is a guy
Now you are on the clock.
Interesting. He's been going in the 8th round, but he came back to practice today. So I expect him to start moving back up. Let's see who he took. A.J. Dillon. All right. So I got my choice of Mike Williams, Michael Gallup, or Devonta Smith. 2 week 7s and a 14. Obviously, week 14 is not great. I could also go Dallas Goddard. 8.2 for Goddard is pretty good. So you look over here. Goddard goes right around there. Debo is gone, I'm sure, because I didn't see him. I would have been all over Debo. Mike Williams goes right here.
15 seconds left.
Fuck. I don't have time. Too much yapping. I really like Devonta Smith. I think he's going to be the one there. I like having him. I think he's gonna do well. And I took Devonta Smith over those other two. If I had a little more time, I would have looked up Michael Gallup. He goes in the 8th round there. So I think that Devonta Smith's ADP is going to, go up. But now, if you look at my team, I started with 2 running backs, but I haven't taken one in a while. So that whole dead zone, not one running back. Harris was actually a good. I would have been happy taking Harris there, but I felt because I took a quarterback, I like having 4 wide receivers so that every week I have the 2 starting wide receivers and 2 wide receivers for the flex. So this is a very solid team right now. All right, so let's go. Let's go to the queue. So for the net, and I know this, but like the back of my hand now, because I've been doing so many of these drafts. Gordon, Fournette, Connor. That's really it at running back. All right, so that's 20 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I got enough names. Without anybody, and people, once you get to this point, you know, a lot of times, you saw last time I ended up with like 5 or 6 names there of people. And so this is all my tier, my different tiers. Any of these people I have in the same tier pretty much. So, you know, it's a matter of who makes it back to me. And some are ahead, a tier ahead as well. But you need to dip into the next tier down to get to enough players to cover it. So we did that. And we're going to go like this so you guys can see better and see less of me. All right, so let's go over to this draft. Team 1. All right, so to me, the ideal construction is 2-5-9-2. All right. But there's nothing wrong with the third quarterback. There's nothing wrong with 4. And sometimes even if you're doing a 0 RB team, 6 running backs, 8, 9, 10 wide receivers is good. 7's a little light, but you can do okay. And 2 and 3 tight ends. But what people don't tell you about roster construction is it's also about how much you have invested at each position. So we'll go through this. So team 1, so they get McCaffrey. They take Jacobs a little early. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So he's already put himself behind the 8 ball because if you have McCaffrey, you never want to go above 5. And for who? Tyreek Hill? Okay, so we'll find out later what that takes out of. Quarterback, he invested a 3rd-round pick on Pat Mahomes and still took 2 more. All right, to me, that's not just a minor roster construction problem. Like 6 over 5 is kind of borderline. 3 with Mahomes is a big no-no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wide receivers. So I'm going to stop. And 3 tight ends. So, this team, even with Christian McCaffrey, even if his, and I'm not even looking at the players he took for the most part. I like Irv Smith. I like Logan Thomas. I like Devonta Smith in the 6th. He reached. So this team might be a nice guy, but now instead of going against 11 other teams, pretty much I'm going against 10. All right. So team 2 decided to go for the big early tight end strategy, and he took a 3rd. All right. I wouldn't have done that. With 2 flexes, you can do it. I wouldn't have. All right. And he reached for Kyle Pitts as well to do the strategy. And that left him with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 running backs. None until the 5th round. Travis Etienne has James Robinson there. So I get why he went 7, but it's his own fault. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. This is another poorly constructed team. He's got good players. And then he took Russell Wilson in the 7th, Matt Ryan. Why take Deshaun Watson? How many weeks is he going to give you? Now you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. You got them in the right spot, but if you get an injury or 2, you're not going to have extra wide receiver for the flex. The goal is to have enough wide receivers because they are, 1 catch for 50 yards and a touchdown, gives you a usable week for a guy at the end here. Anyway, 2 really bad constructions to start off. Any questions on that? All right. Let's go to team 3. I have enough time. No, I don't. I'm not going to do it. So you can see I've got 8 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to get some players that I like. And let's look at what Hard Knock Life has right now. So he's got 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. So he's more likely, I would say, to go wide receiver than running back with this build. So all things being equal, I would take a wide receiver over a running back with this first pick.
You are up next.
Somebody I like.
Now you are on the clock.
And he made it. All right. So even though I like wide receiver, he's more likely to go wide receiver than me. James Conner right here. He was one of my most owned guys. I haven't had much luck with him lately. So he goes in the middle of round 9. He's been going earlier lately. The tourists have been taking him really early. But I'm not going to take a chance on him not making it back to me, because to me, he's a tier above these other running backs. So now I've got my third running back. I got a piece of that nice Arizona lineup. Another thing you want to do is you want to be trying to stack without a quarterback. So as we go along here, you'll see that I will consider that pretty heavily.
You are up next.
And he went with Russell Gage, who wasn't even in my queue. I like Mecole Hardman. He gives you a piece of that Kansas City offense. And DJ Shark, this is just too late for DJ Shark.
Now you are on the clock.
But Shark goes at the beginning of round 8, right? So 7, 8. All right, so the end of round 8. Shark goes the end of round 8, and Mecole Hardman goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks later. So it's not that great of a discount. So that's good to know. And Hardman went. All right, so Mecole went, so that leaves me Shark. I think that's really good value on Shark. So now I've got 2 shares of DJ Shark after having none. And I've got 1 quarterback, 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, and a tight end. So when you consider that build of 2-5-9-2, I don't want to be perfectly balanced, but I like to have, as a tiebreaker, I like, so 3 running backs and 5 wide receivers. Now I need 4 more wide receivers and 2 more running backs. It's the same ratio. Staying even is a nice thing to do. All right, so we have to consider a second quarterback. Burrow, Hurts. I got DJ Shark, so Lawrence. I have A-Rob, so Justin Fields is in the mix. I don't think I would take anyone else at the 11-12 turn. Running backs, 1, 2, 3, 4. No Devin Singletary. Is that 17? Sicky, Johnny. All right, so I got 21 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18. So, all right, so this is great. Always good news. Nothing worse than having it stop here and you're dragging your tail to get you enough players and hoping that someone drops. I don't have to hope that someone drops. 2 guys that I like are going to be here for the next pick. So the next question I would ask if I was watching this is, Todd, why didn't you have Lamar Jackson and you have Mark Andrews. Why didn't you take Marquise Brown? Well, the truth is he might make it back. He's been going in this range. So why reach when I have a good value on DJ Shark? It also opens up other opportunities. So let's go back to the drawing board. Team 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. But you got to really hope one of these, because Chuba Hubbard is a strict backup. Gainwell, strict backup. So really, this team only has 3 running backs and 2 prayers. All right? On a team like that, I would want the Hunt and Sermon to be a little earlier. At least one of them. All right? So we've got George Kittle and Jonnu Smith, excellent tight ends. A lot of times when I invest in Kittle, I won't take a guy, second tight end here. But Jonnu can be in the flex. I think he goes anywhere from the 10th to the 12th round after the big preseason game and before his injury. I've taken him here, and I would have. I don't know. I don't want to get into players too much. I want to more discuss structure. All right. So he invested in Kyler and Stafford. No need for Daniel Jones. Bad roster construction. And then you look at being weak at running back. So he took Stafford over David Johnson. There really wasn't a good running back here, but because of that, now he's too strong at quarterback, too weak at running back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers, starting with one in the 3rd, one in the 6th, one in the 8th, 3 here. It's a little weak. It's a little weak. It's not terrible, but it's a little weak. So overall, I wouldn't say this guy's eliminated himself with bad roster construction like the first 2 teams. These 2 teams need to pretty much nail every player. I know at the end of the year, these guys will come back to me and say, I got it, I advanced. Because Tarek Cohen, or Philip Lindsay. But the point I'm trying to teach you is to have good construction. All right, so he's put himself behind the 8 ball. All right, coming up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. So I'm not going to do the next team. You have enough time to check for questions. No questions. That's kind of funny. We were at 32 and then down to 12. Now we're boosting back up. Hello, newbies. Hello, welcome. Zappa Sutra. Better to ask me now. I got plenty of time to answer questions now. I might want to go to bed when this is done. So ask away. If any of you guys have questions, I got plenty of time to do this. I can juggle, man. I can juggle. I've done so many of these drafts. All right. So we need 2 more running backs. There's 4 good choices. Got some wide receivers in here. But ultimately, with Chubb, Connor, and Aaron Jones, I don't feel the need to have 2 real good running backs here. So I'm not against going wide receiver. Quarterback. All right. So he's gone. I would have liked Trevor Lawrence. Probably would have taken him if he made it.
You are up next.
I hate you, Clifton. So I don't know if he's watching, but Clifton took Marquise Brown. I would have liked him, but not the end of the world. All right.
Now you are on the clock.
He was a no-brainer if he was there. All right. So I've talked about having stacks without quarterback. So Lawrence is gone, but should I leave Marvin Jones for DLBB32 when I've got DJ Shark? Stack away, baby. Let's look at Marvin Jones. He goes in the middle of the 11th. I'm taking him at the end of the 11th, so I'm getting a value. I'm stacking without a quarterback, and that's a good thing to do.
Left.
So now I can go running back. I'm definitely going to get one of the 3 running backs.
You are up next.
And I could also go wide receiver if I want.
Now you are on the clock.
And I got sniped. I would have taken Rondell Moore to go with James Conner, so that hurts a little bit. All right, so now let's talk about running backs. I've got Chubb, Connor, and Aaron Jones. All right? I don't need a running back who's going to give me some points every week like Naheem Hines. Philip Lindsay, I don't feel that comfortable about his situation. Alexander Madison, on the other hand, has a floor, but he has a massive ceiling if Dalvin Cook gets hurt. This is where, like, if I didn't have a strong running back room, I might be more inclined to take a guy like Hines who can get me usable weeks. But I love Alexander Madison here as my fourth running back. So we stacked with Marvin Jones there. Madison, I thought Rondale Moore would make it back to me. He didn't. I'm very high on him. I've been taking him a lot lately. And he normally goes in the middle of the 12th round. So that sucked. I would have reached a little for him. Because to me, and that's where ADP doesn't mean anything. You know, once you're on the clock at the turnover here, what does it matter if you don't get a discount? Look at all the other times I bagged a discount. It's definitely worth moving up to get a guy you like at times as well. Not everything. And that's the thing that's hard about doing this. You say something and people hear what they think you mean rather than what you really mean. I like value, but ultimately my goal is to put the best team together that I can. So if Rondale Moore isn't a value at ADP, but I've got him as a value a round earlier, and by the time I come back to pick again, he's going to be gone to somebody else, you take Rondale Moore. Didn't work out. Let's see where Madison was. Madison goes in the 12th. That's the same situation. Madison normally goes a little later. I don't care. He fit my team perfectly, and he's a guy that I'm slightly higher on than the crowd. All right, so next turnaround, I do have to start considering quarterbacks. So I want to put everyone in the next tier in. But because I have Lamar Jackson, I don't need a great second quarterback. I would like one, but I don't need one. All right, so look at the players who there's nobody to stack out of that group. So let's see, running back. McKissick, I got to start putting him in. Bernard, James White. Got a lot of Penny. I don't have any Seahawks here. I'm going to leave him out. Wide receiver, Pittman, Parker, Callaway, Marshall, Edwards. And tight end. I do need a second tight end, right? I don't have one yet. Gronk, Jarwin, Ferkser, Cook, Hunter Henry. That gives me 21 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Plenty of guys there. Let's get back to this. All right. Team 4 started Dalvin, Chubb, Mixon. Wow, look at this. Mixon, because of these reaches, Mixon mid-third. But let's see what he did with it. See, I would not have taken Darrington Evans. Is that egregious? It's not. It's not egregious. But you got James Conner in the 11th. I would have stopped at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers. So that's a little light, especially considering you didn't start until the 4th round. But he's got really solid late ones. Rondale Moore, Sterling Shepard, and Jamison Crowder. 3 tight ends. Personally, I wouldn't have put Ferkser in there, but he can play the flex too. And that's where being dogmatic about that 3rd tight end doesn't make sense. So, yeah, he's only got 7 wide receivers, but he's got Ferkser who can do it. Hurts, Mayfield, and Fitz. Fitz was a value pick. I think he put himself slightly behind the 8 ball. But overall, this is a good team with a good construction. This team could give me trouble. This team could definitely give me some trouble. All right. Still got time. Team 5. 1, 2. So start at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why do you need Boston Scott? You've got 2 early, and you got 2 good mid-tier ones, and Mostert. So where does that affect him? He also went to 2 quarterbacks. So how many weeks is Brady or Josh Allen going to be on the bench, not giving you anything for your 8th round pick? Now, you're going to have a real high scoring at quarterback. But his 2 tight ends are Cole Kmet and Dawson Knox. I mean, Knox might not do anything. Kmet I do like, but this is bad roster construction. He's put himself behind the 8 ball, even though he's got good team, good players at running back, and it affected him at tight end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers, good wide receivers. He's stacked Josh Allen with Gabriel Davis. I mean, it's a good team. Would it shock me if he beat me? No. Would it shock me if Goddard is putting up, 4 or 5 20-point weeks when Cole Kmet gives you an 8? I feel like he unnecessarily hurt himself. Team 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, put himself way behind Dak and Herbert together. Why? You're counting on Dak to give you 10 to 12 good weeks.
Now you are on the clock.
I didn't really need a wide receiver, but
you are up next.
Edwards, 14th. Not that good of a.
Now you are on the clock.
All right. So what I just did was the late stack. So I got Bryan Edwards and Derek Carr. So now I've taken care of my. See, this is what happens when you do stream. You can make mistakes. Same bye week at quarterback. I'm just going to eat it. I'm not going to take a third quarterback to cover it. But I feel that the points that I'm going to get out of that stack over the course of the year will eat into what I'm giving away there. But that was not ideal. But that's the way it goes. All right. So let's fill this back up. That's what I would call a minor problem, something that can be worked around. But I like Bryan Edwards a lot. All right, that was a little depressing. Let's go. All right, let's go back to this team. So, you spend so much on quarterback here and you still take Carson Wentz? I mean, this team has crushed its upside with that. 1, 2, and then Tunyon, Ertz, and Mo Alley Cox. Again, not every team that has bad construction has killed themselves, but he's put himself significantly behind the 8 ball. Let's go to Team 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs. I don't mind 6 because he took 1 in the first and he didn't take another to the 7th. but he reached for Dillon. He reached for Jamal Williams. He reached for David Johnson. That's not good. So overall, I'm going to have to say that that's not good running back construction. And let's see where it hurt him. So he needed to take Aaron Rodgers to go with who? He didn't stack with Aaron Rodgers. He took Goff with Rodgers, which isn't great, but isn't terrible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers, including one that doesn't look to have much of a role in John Brown, might get cut. Pretty good wide receivers here, but there's some reaching. Barkley is a reach, and there's no stack here. There's no stack here. Poor roster construction. Is it deadly? No. But you see, as I go along, how many teams have put themselves behind the 8 ball, where I've got a very good 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3. Now, my quarterbacks are a little weak, but I've stacked it up nicely. And but I could have probably gone. I could have gone third quarterback here instead of Kendrick Bourne. But this isn't my best team, but it's got 4 great running backs and really explosive wide receivers. Dallas Goddard. Lawrence could give me a quarterback 1, and I think Carr is not bad either. So it's not bad. Not bad. All right. Let's go back. Team 9. All right, so this is a friend of mine, and I expect this to be a really solid team. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers. 1 in the first, 1 in the third. He's going to. I'm not a Jerry Jeudy guy. He is, but he got Sutton too, so he's got plenty of wide receiver for the flex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. Got 1 stud. 1, could be stud. A decent third guy. A little weak at running back, just a tiny, tiny bit. But definitely not egregious. And I don't think I would have taken a 6th. 3 quarterbacks. He's got Cortland Sutton and Jeudy, so he threw in Drew Lock. He didn't start until the 9th with Burrow, so definitely don't mind 3 here. And 2 tight ends right in the middle. I think Troutman looks like a blocking tight end, and I told him that. But overall, 3, 5, 8, 2. Not bad. So my Edwards Carr thing also has backfired on me a little bit at tight end. But boy, am I nice.
You are up next.
Wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 7 good ones. So I'm going to get one of Dan Arnold.
You are on the clock.
Or Hurst here. I have a lot of Hurst, but I just think he's a better. I know people like Arnold, but I like Hurst better. So I'm going to take him. Then you look at what I got. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've talked about them. There are 4 solid running backs, 3 very good ones. I've got I've got 2 tight ends. I've got 2 quarterbacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers. So it's solid. And James White made it back to me, and he'll be my 5th. I keep my eye on week 14. He's only my 2nd week 14. PPR, he's going to be involved. 5th. 5th running back. So on that turn, I cleaned up my roster construction. I needed a second tight end pretty desperately. So did Hard Knock Life, and he took Dan Arnold. Sometimes I take CJ Azuma late. I have one or two tight ends I could consider because my wide receivers are very strong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pretty strong. I could go with the third tight end in this build. I won't go with the third quarterback. So this is when you sit at the draft and you look at your construction to make sure you end up right, and you're putting the right amount of push-pull. So I got one early tight end, one late tight end. I've got one early quarterback. I got one late quarterback. All right, my team has balance. I've got two early running backs, a good third one, and then two late ones. But I've got two that I feel this guy has a lot of upside and a decent floor, and he has a decent floor. So you've got to consider floor and ceiling when you're balancing. All right. So at wide receiver, Robinson is more floor than ceiling. Chase is more ceiling than floor. Sutton has both for this late. Devonta has both for this late. Shark has more ceiling than floor. Marvin Jones gives you a very good combination of ceiling. And Bryan Edwards right now looks like a starter in the 13th round. And then we've got the stack. So you see how I've balanced in a few different ways. It's important, especially when you're doing volume, because you're counting on your good roster construction. Think of it as like you're putting pressure on the field. You've got 100 teams that are all built right, and they're putting pressure and putting pressure and putting pressure with the goal that and your player exposure, you're taking a stake on guys. But you're not so crazy where one or two injuries. You're counting on the fact that this tournament's going to let you have a nice pass-through rate. You're mixing up the players that you like, and your exposure. You're taking values when you can get them. And overall, the construction is you're trying to put pressure on people through your good construction as well as your good players. Right? There's no one on this team that I feel bad about taking. A couple I wish I had gotten that I didn't. And the only real weakness, the mistake that I made, I was honest about. This is going to cost me about 20 points in week 8. But how many times will that Derek Carr to Bryan Edwards get me points? So that's the other thing you've got to consider. That stack could get me an extra, 10, 15, 20 points. So I don't feel too bad about that move that I made. It's not ideal. That being said, when I go to the board right now, I can look at a third quarterback, and there's no one that I really feel good about adding. Taysom Hill is a guy I could add. I'll put him into the queue. I doubt I take him. Even if he's there in the 18th, no, this is my 18th pick. All right, so I've got my 5 running backs. Is there anyone I do like McKinnon? I'll throw him in there. Doubtful. I'll take him. Wide receiver. Okay, so Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson. I talked about getting sniped on Hunter Renfrow. Will it happen again? If it does, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to add Hunter Renfrew. You can even go here. You can look at Baltimore, wide receiver. And there's nobody I feel good about. And Las Vegas, the only one I felt good about. I could put John Brown in there too. All right. So I've got 2 of those. Go back up here. Now you look at week 17. Well, who does Baltimore play? I know they play the Rams. That one I remember. So Van Jefferson can go into the queue.
You are up next.
Is the other guy there? No. And then Carr, Las Vegas plays.
Now you are on the clock.
Las Vegas. Who does Las Vegas play? They play the Colts. Paris Campbell make it? Let's check. I don't think he did. We did. All right, so that's a no-brainer. I'm taking Paris Campbell. So week 17, I think he's better than any of these other people I've got here. And now let's look at tight end. So now I've built in a week 17 correlation. If I get there, I've got an extra little correlation. Might not mean anything. Might mean something. All right, so let's look at tight ends. I talked about how I might take a third. Is there anyone here that I would feel? Jacob Harris. I talked about the week, about that. Tim Tebow, rest in peace. Noah Gray is a decent third tight end with some upside. I like Byron Pringle. So there's other wide receivers I like in here.
You are on the clock.
But I feel like Hunter Renfrow is the right choice. He is a direct, obviously a stack is more important than than other things. I think I'm okay with, this team's going to need Mark Andrews to give me what I want. But that is my last pick. It is Hunter Renfrow at 18-2. And now we look at my final roster. And now I've got 2, 5, 9, 2. What I consider the most optimal for this thing. Would have considered a third quarterback. Would have considered a third. I've got mini stack with Shark and Jones. I've got a guy who could really give me upside here. I've got a late stack with Carr, Edwards, and Hunter Renfrow. And Renfrow shown some big weeks. I'm very happy with my 5 running backs. And I put in a week 17 correlation late with Paris Campbell. James White is also a correlation with the Jaguars, even though I didn't think of it. But they play them in week 17. Atlanta, I don't remember. Madison, he goes with the Packers. They go with the Patriots. Arizona, a little light on my Cardinals. I love having my late Cardinals. But I'm really happy with this team. I'm very happy. And I think that I gave you guys a really good sense of everything that I do. And I, again, want to thank Draftsharks for sponsoring this podcast and this draft. We are probably going to do another one just like this on Friday night. If anyone wants to get in on the draft, it's the Friday night at, you can see them on the board in a couple. And both of my partners have contacted me while I was doing this. Friday night draft, Discord 2, Friday night at 8. So if you guys want to get in there, right now there is only just me. So there's plenty of room. All right, I'm going to look for last questions. Kevin, thank you. Again, Kevin, thank you. And that's going to do it. So if you have any questions, let me know. And bye.